Well, thanks for being with us, everybody. My name is Dave Webb. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for this wonderful Vitify company. Very grateful to have you all with us, joining us tonight. We are right now 7 o'clock Mountain Time, and we're really eager to have our guest speaker. He's not really a guest. He's kind of an every other time regular speaker, but he's still special. We still appreciate him. We welcome him. We're glad he's here. Dr. Jeremy Thornton, by way of introduction, give us your where you're coming from, what your background is, how you found Vitify. Give us the 90-second elevator. I'm Dr. Jeremy, and here's what I know.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dave. My name is Dr. Jeremy Thornton. I am in Southwest Missouri. I've lived here almost all my life, and I have been in practice now for a little over 26 years, primarily in the area of functional medicine and nutrition. And so I'm an internist, a chiropractic physician, clinical nutritionist, and we focus on helping people get to the root causes of their health issues. We love to work with lifestyle. We love to work with nutrition. And that's what initially brought me into the Curcumin conversation. And so that's something I've been studying and using and following for many, many years. And so, this product was shared with me, this technology, I call it, about 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And honestly, I wasn't terribly excited about another curcumin supplement, right? I thought that I'd seen the best there was. I thought I'd seen all the limitations of curcumin, and but I'm thankful I took a closer look, because it's changed everything for me, for my family, for my practice. And I know it's changing, lives across the globe. Guys, I'm excited to be here with you. I would love to know if you would drop it in the chat. We're going to specifically talk about autoimmune disease, which is actually what I work with the most in my practice. Would love to know if you yourself has experienced or is experiencing an autoimmune situation, or maybe somebody in your family. Would love for you to drop that in the chat if you don't mind. And maybe the condition that you've dealt with, either personally or with family members. Would just kind of like to get an idea about what everybody has experienced that's on tonight. So we always have to start with the following information is not intended to replace a professional medical recommendation. It's only for informational and educational purposes based on preventive medicine. If you have any of the following symptoms, you should consult a licensed healthcare professional for the diagnosis and treatment of any medical conditions, okay? We always like to get that out of the way, make sure everybody's on the same page. So, autoimmune disease covers a big area, right? There's lots of different funny sounding names. Basically, the immune system gets confused and starts attacking us, right? That's not what the immune system's supposed to attack, but it gets confused and it attacks us. These are some of the more common ones we have, and you've probably heard of some of these: multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, celiac disease, Addison's disease, Guillain-Barré, inflammatory bowel diseases like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. In the thyroid, we have Graves, we have Hashimoto's, vitiligo, lupus, Sjogren's, psoriasis, and then if we get it in our joints, we could call that rheumatoid arthritis. There are over 100 conditions identified. That's quite shocking, that 100 different autoimmune conditions identified, and some would say quite a bit more than that. But 50 million Americans are approximately affected by autoimmune disease, and about 25% of patients with or people with autoimmune disease will go on to develop a secondary autoimmune disease. That's pretty shocking. So we have one autoimmune disease, the immune system's attacking something it shouldn't, right? And then it goes on and starts attacking something else. And now we've got a different autoimmune disease, or sometimes multiple autoimmune diseases. But it affects, here in the US, 16% of the US population has at least one autoimmune disease. And what's shocking about that is that's more than cancer, and that's more than heart disease. Here in the US. That's a lot of people. And so it's actually one of the top 10 leading causes of death in women under the age of 64. So a lot of people are impacted by this, and that's why we saw that in the chat, right? People sharing how it's impacted them. This is global autoimmune disorders spanning from 2000 to 2022 in billions of US dollars. Look at that. Look at the far left, 2011, $23. Now look at the far right, 2022, $140 billion globally, right? So we can tell that this is significantly increasing over time. And this is just a handful of autoimmune diseases here spanning from 1950 to 2000, and this is percentage wise. So we have in the green, we have multiple sclerosis. In the blue there, we have Crohn's disease. In the black, we have type 1 diabetes. In the yellow, we have actually the blue is Crohn's disease, yellow is celiac disease, and then asthma would be that red line. And although they're squiggly and they're all over the place, we can clearly see that they are rising over those years. So the balance between the sexes, what's kind of shocking about autoimmune disease is it is mostly women impacted by autoimmune disease. About 75% is in women, which is, I find, rather alarming. And so these are conditions, these are common autoimmune diseases. In the red, it's how much this particular disease impacts women, and the blue, men. So you can see we start here with Sjogren's disease, largely women, right? With just a little bit of men. As we go down, still, Hashimoto's and lupus and RA and MS and celiac and Crohn's. About Crohn's disease here, we finally start to get about equal men and women incidence. Type 1 diabetes, about equal. Ankylosing spondylitis, slightly more in men. And there's a lot of reasons believed that. One of those is the presence of a very encouraging hormone in the area of inflammation called estrogen. And so that's one of the reasons that they believe that females develop more autoimmune disease than men is the overall exposure to estrogen over the years. But that's just one. They believe there's genetic reasons and other immunological factors that they may not even know about yet for the cause of seeing this more in female. I hear a lot about it. Well, it's in my genes. My grandmother had rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's, and my mom, and so I'm going to have that. And I always like to point out that genetics might load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger, right? Just because we have autoimmune disease in our family somewhere does not necessarily mean that that's going to play out in our health. And there's lots of things we could do to prevent that from happening, even if we have a strong genetic tendency towards those disease processes. And so I like to point out different triggers. Triggers can cause or be associated with the beginning of autoimmune disease. And so some things we don't talk about, we hear a lot about genetics, but there can be things like leaky gut. Has anybody heard of leaky gut? I'd love to see that in the chat. Maybe some have experienced leaky gut. Well, I always think when I hear the term leaky gut, it reminds me back to my childhood with the Looney Tunes cartoons, right? Where Elmer Fudd, shoots Daffy Duck, and then he drinks the water, and then it kind of shoots out of him in the little holes, right? That's what I imagine when I hear the term leaky gut. But it's really a thing, right? It's a real condition. Where the intestinal lining gets compromised and things escape there that's not supposed to, and creates an immune response. Chronic infections is a very common one. Hidden infections that people don't even know are going on in their body. Estrogen dominance, we touched on estrogen. Food sensitivities, right? Or food allergies, sometimes they're called. Adrenal imbalance, and that's usually due to chronic stress, and chronic stress influence on inflammation. Probably one of the largest ones in our day and age is toxins and chemicals, right? Our environment is so polluted. We're just in a chemical soup day in and day out, in our air, in our food, in our hygiene, in our water. And it's hard to escape that. We try our best, but it's difficult to. And mental and emotional stress, right? And these days, I think that's probably higher than ever. And that can be a predisposing factor to developing autoimmune diseases. So we can talk about triggers. Leaky gut. Again, we have to talk about leaky gut. Almost every talk I bring up gut in some form or fashion, right? It's just that common. And so this is a cross section of the intestinal lining, right? And so when we eat, the food and nutrients are passing through here, right? And then we get this leaky gut. Things like infections, things like medications and stress and different things create inflammation in this intestinal lining. These little villi, this is where we absorb our nutrients right in here, right? And when this happens, this irritation, this inflammation, this toxicity causes these cells to release a protein called zonulin. And zonulin increases this, right? called a tight junction. See how tight this is here? See how it's not tight here, right? So this increases the permeability of this bowel lining, this intestinal lining, allowing things that aren't supposed to pass through here to pass through here, including toxins, including infection, including food proteins that are larger than they should be, that are allowed to escape here into the bloodstream, which of course is where our immune system is, right? And then we have a compromised immune system leading to allergies and asthma and eczema and increasing risk for autoimmune disease. And let's see here, at the bottom it lists Hashimoto's and MS and rheumatoid and inflammatory bowel and lupus stemming from leaky gut. So chronic infections, this is just one of my labs. This was actually a stool analysis in a patient of mine with autoimmune disease. And look at all of this up here. These are all what they call dysbiotic flora. These are all disease-causing or symptomatic bacterial infections. And this particular person, this poor person, had 4 different chronic infections as an underlying issue. They also had yeast as well. And that was all going on in the gut, right? That was encouraging leaky gut. And the infection was stirring up the immune system to attack in an unhealthy way. Food sensitivities, right? This can go along with leaky gut. When we saw that model of the leaky gut, right, in the tight junctions that weren't so tight anymore, those food proteins were able to escape through there into the bloodstream where the immune system says, you know what, I don't know if I like, we'll pick on gluten, right? Everybody else does. I don't know if I like that gluten protein. And you know what? That gluten protein kind of looks like that protein in her thyroid gland. Maybe that's a bad guy too, right? Now the immune system is not only attacking these foods every time we eat those foods because of the leaky gut, now they're attacking us, right? Because our immune system got confused. They call that molecular mimicry, and now it thinks our thyroid is the same as that gluten or that gliadin that it is attacking of the food from the food sensitivities. So we're going to talk first about 3 specific dietary strategies that can be implemented in those with autoimmune. And I've seen each of these be effective. Okay, I've seen all of them be effective, and I've used all of these in some form or fashion. So we've probably heard about the autoimmune paleo diet. Okay, and if you're interested in any of these, there's tons of information online. You can just Google it, and more than you ever wanted to read about. So autoimmune paleo includes, healthy meats and veggies and greens, things like coconut oil and berries, apple cider vinegar. What it doesn't allow is nightshade vegetables, which can create inflammation in a lot of people. Gluten and I'm getting happy here on the button. Gluten and beans and peas and rice and wheat and other grains and eggs and dairy. It doesn't allow those types of foods. And some people, that allows their immune system to calm down and creates a situation of healing for autoimmune situations. There's an autoimmune keto diet. Probably many of you are familiar with the keto diet, right? People are eating, mostly meat and dairy and eggs and veggies. A lot of times they're doing that to lose weight, or maybe they have, it's popular in different cancer treatments, or they're using it for healing in the body or blood sugar disorders. Lots of different reasons you might choose that. But the autoimmune keto diet is a little bit different. Doesn't allow dairy, doesn't allow eggs, doesn't allow nuts. Or seeds, and these are commonly things that are allowed in a keto diet, right? So it's a little bit different. It does induce a state of ketosis, which ketosis, being in a state of ketosis, has a lot of anti-inflammatory benefits. And some people experience benefits to their autoimmune situation on such a diet. Something that's becoming more popular these days is carnivore, right? Have you heard of the carnivore diet, right? Which is pretty much meat and more meat, right? Maybe there's some eggs, there's some butter, right? But largely just meat. They don't allow fruits and vegetables. There's no wheats, grains, and rice, no plant seed oils or other non-animal products. Really the ultimate elimination diet, and that's what a carnivore diet is. And in many, it can help with leaky gut, and many, it can help calm an overactive immune system, right? So we're talking about different things that can be helpful because, honestly, the medical approach for autoimmune disease just is not very advanced, right? We just don't have a lot of good tools when it comes to autoimmune disease. We have things like steroids, right? And that can be helpful in certain conditions. It's not a great long-term approach, though, right? We have a lot of side effects in steroids and other anti-inflammatory drugs. Um, uh, um, Immune suppressing drugs, right? That's another approach from the medical standpoint. And that can be very helpful in certain circumstances, not against a medical approach, but again, it may not be a great long-term approach, right? Suppressing the immune system for long periods of time could have side effects. And so we're talking about some natural ways that you might have some tools in your toolbox to impact autoimmune in a positive way, right? And of course, we have to talk about curcumin, one of my favorite topics here. And we're going to talk about how curcumin can be involved in autoimmune disease. So this particular article talks about curcumin, autoimmune and inflammatory diseases, going beyond conventional therapy. And as we go further into this article, it says curcumin species have been gaining ground in the treatment of autoimmune and inflammatory diseases due to the wide range of bioactive compounds capable of exerting substantial anti-inflammatory and antioxidant actions. The effects can be associated with improvements of symptoms and induction of remission in inflammatory bowel disease patients, reduction of erythema and induration of lesions and psoriasis, and slowing down the disease progression in patients with sclerosis. And so that's pretty exciting, just hearing that little bit that's covered in this article. And this is one of the reasons it's so impactful is curcumin inhibits all of these different inflammatory pathways, and many of these are involved in autoimmune disease. Let me go back up. There was another thing I missed in that article. Furthermore, curcumin shows effects equivalent to ibuprofen and diclofenac, that's another anti-inflammatory drug, without the adverse effects generally reported by patients. Curcumin or its derivatives can be used safely and efficiently as adjuvants or as main therapy for these diseases that increase year by year in the world population. That's some exciting news, right? This is another article, Curcumin and Autoimmune Disease. It says recent studies have shown that curcumin ameliorates multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, inflammatory bowel disease in human or animal models. Curcumin, inhibits these autoimmune diseases by regulating inflammatory cytokines such as and all these different inflammatory cytokines, right? And see here, this is a nanocurcumin attenuates neurological symptoms in an animal model of multiple sclerosis, right? So they created basically multiple sclerosis in animal model. They applied nanocurcumin, and they saw a significant decrease in the amounts of demyelination. So the myelin is the covering of the brain and the spinal cord and the nerves, right? And in multiple sclerosis, the immune system gets confused and it attacks the brain, it attacks the nervous system, it attacks this myelin sheath, this protective covering. So we saw decreases in the amounts of demyelination, in the amounts of inflammation and the blood-brain barrier breakdown. That's another thing that happens with MS is it breaks down that blood-brain barrier, allowing things that shouldn't be in there to get in there. And this reduces that. It decreases oxidative stress as well as improving remyelination, right? Repair of that myelin sheath, which is terribly exciting for people dealing with MS. This is a randomized study to assess the efficacy and safety of curcumin in patients with active rheumatoid arthritis. This showed that curcumin was actually more efficient than diclofenac, which again is an anti-inflammatory drug, at treating symptoms in rheumatoid arthritis. That's pretty phenomenal. Curcumin, a natural modulator of immune cells in systemic lupus. I won't go into all the details, but basically, again, goes back to antioxidant benefits, its immune response, as well as calming those inflammatory cytokines, right? There's always got to be a catch. And when we talk about all of these benefits that we've found with curcumin, we realize that there is what they call the hidden secret with curcumin and turmeric, and it has to do with bioavailability. So as you're studying a lot of these articles, and in many of the studies they've done over the years, over decades now, if you go into PubMed.gov and just search curcumin, there's over 23,000 current publications, research articles on curcumin alone. By far the most widely studied herbal or natural medicine on the planet. But many of these articles, as you'll see, curcumin can do all these amazing things, but it has poor bioavailability. And so that means we can't absorb it. In fact, the percentage of curcumin that can be ingested and absorbed at the intestinal level is less than 10%. That's shocking. So this is well known, the problems with bioavailability, and many articles go on and on about this. In fact, this one here talks about some researchers have argued that given its unstable and reactive and non-bioavailable nature, further clinical studies on curcumin are unwarranted. So, it's gone as far as scientists saying, hey, we probably shouldn't even study curcumin anymore. We can't get it in the body at therapeutic levels. So why are we spending all this time and money, right? And major reasons are due to its poor absorption, rapid metabolism, chemical instability, and rapid systemic elimination. So not only does it not absorb well, if we're able to get it in the bloodstream, it's rapidly broken down, metabolized, and excreted from the body, right? And this scientist went on to say the same thing. What do you get when you look closely at the molecule and its activities? Well, for one thing, curcumin stability and pharmacokinetics are absolutely terrible. It's less than 1% bioavailable, and its half-life under physiological conditions is measured in minutes. The same scientist goes on to say much effort and funding has been wasted on curcumin research, right? And this is exactly why I was not terribly excited to see a curcumin supplement initially until I started digging into the research, right? I knew that there was a lot of hindrances with absorption, and I experienced that personally and with patients. But that changed when I saw this technology, right? This BioMS technology has really disrupted the nutritional industry because it's changed everything we thought we knew about curcumin, right? We've been studying curcumin for a very long time. We thought we had seen the very best of what it could do, the very best of how it could absorb until now, right? This amazing technology was actually invented in Germany with research at the University of Hohenheim. That is where this was discovered. And this is actually out of the study that was shared with me almost 3 years ago, which got my attention to say, maybe I'll look a little closer at this. But the study that I saw was showing up to 277 times more bioavailability than other curcumin and turmeric preparations. And so honestly, I didn't necessarily believe that was true, but I thought to myself, if that is true, this could change a lot of lives, right? And so I immediately wanted to try it. I immediately wanted to utilize it with a handful of family and patients to see what would happen, right? Because I knew if this statement was true 277 times, that this was going to make an impact on people. And it certainly did, and in a major way. I'm so excited that I was able to share this with my patients, with my family, and its benefits to our health. So it's a multi-patented technology, again, a German technology where they've taken this curcumin particle that does not absorb well, right? They've applied a nanotechnology to shrink that less than 30 nanometers, surrounding it with a micelle structure that's easily able to carry curcumin in water, because curcumin does not like water. And this is easily able to carry this into our bloodstream throughout our blood to our cells, right, to our organs, tissues, and even to our brain. So how small is a nanometer? Well, this gives you some visuals. Human hair is 50 to 100,000 nanometers thick. A red blood cell is 7,000 nanometers wide. This nanotechnology is particle sizes, or curcumin is less than 30 nanometers, which is almost difficult to imagine how small that is. So if you're trying to make an equivalent, it would take about 17 pounds of turmeric root to equal 10 drops of our BioMS technology. That's a heck of turmeric root. This is a good visual, right, of this is probably what that poor scientist was used to seeing in the absorption of curcumin through an oral dose, right? This 2,000 milligram dose, as you can see down here, it peaked in an hour. Okay, that was the most exciting part, was right there. And you can see where it was at by 2 hours. They couldn't even detect it anymore. And this is what we're used to seeing. This is why I say it's changed everything we thought we knew about curcumin, because this is what we're used to seeing. This was about it, that we could get in the bloodstream. and for no length of time at all, and it was gone. I hear a lot of people say, well, my curcumin or my turmeric, they've added black pepper extract, which has changed, the bioavailability, right? Well, maybe, but not so fast. When we add black pepper to that same dosage, we do get a peak here at about 45 minutes, right? But look where we're at by an hour. Okay, look where we're at by 3 hours. Again, undetectable again. So what happened here is we briefly slowed down liver detoxification, and that's what the black pepper extract does. Briefly slowed down the liver, and allowed a brief spike in curcumin. But as that black pepper extract wears off, we quickly see a detox, or not a detox, metabolism of the curcumin, and of course it's gone again. My problem with black pepper extract is do we really want to slow down the liver, right, to try to achieve this brief spike in curcumin? And most people are doing that multiple times a day. And many people are also on multiple prescription medications. Again, I don't think slowing down the liver is probably the best approach. Now, again, that's all old school, right? Compared to our BioMS technology. So this is what we're achieving. So down here, you can't really see it, but this is the curcumin. The traditional curcumin is down here. This is our BioMS technology. We're reaching levels that we've never thought possible. Not only in the bloodstream, these are both males and females, but levels that we've never seen before from an oral dose, right? We're used to seeing things way down here. We're achieving this. But what's more exciting is, remember the other models, within 2 hours, it was gone. Within 3 hours, maybe, if you added black pepper extract. But this is a single 10-drop dose, and you can see 8 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours. We still have measurable amounts of curcumin in the bloodstream from a single dose. And this is exactly why we're seeing such dramatic response in people. We're seeing it change people's lives. Again, disrupting the nutritional industry, because we've never seen curcumin behave like this. We've never, I would say it's what I had always hoped curcumin was, but I'd never seen it until now. And of course, I can't quit talking and sharing about it. After all, it's not about how much curcumin you take, but how much is absorbed, how long it stays in your bloodstream, organs, and tissues. I love to share this visual. On the left is traditional curcumin, right? They call it hydrophobic, hates water. This is a problem when our bloodstream is mostly water. But on the right, this is our BioMS technology that's overcome the solubility issue, that's overcome bioavailability, that's easily able to get into the body, into the bloodstream, and throughout our organs and tissues. And so I'm super excited to share that with you tonight. I'm going to share just a couple of brief labs. I think I've got maybe a minute or two left, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Dave. So this patient of mine was a 43-year-old female with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. What that means is immune system is confused and thinks her thyroid is public enemy number one, okay? And I won't go into a lot of details because it'll probably bore you to death, but right here is where we inserted the BioMS, okay? What's really exciting is these two tests right here. They call these thyroid antibodies. And when these are really high, that means the immune system is aggressively attacking the thyroid gland. The higher that number, the more aggressive that attack is by the immune system. And look how it changed between, let me move some things out of the way here, between here and here. Look how it changed between here and here, okay? Definitely calmed that immune system attack on the thyroid gland. Also, look down here. These are a couple of well-known inflammatory markers. One is called C-reactive protein. The other one is called a sedimentation rate. This is where we were. We started our BioMS technology, and this is where we ended up afterwards. Really exciting things to see numbers like this. This is a 56-year-old male, had diabetes, high lipids, rheumatoid arthritis. I'm just going to go real quickly here, but blood sugar improved. A1C was diabetic range. Now it's not diabetic range. Cholesterol levels improved. Triglycerides improved. LDL and HDL improved. If we go down here to the inflammatory markers again, look where we started. After BioMS, look where we ended up. Can you imagine this patient with this joint discomfort how they felt when these numbers did what they did, right? When we started, the rheumatoid factor was positive. Upon follow-up, was negative. So I love to share personal stories of what I've seen in my office. We could go on and on. Again, when we talk about health conditions, we're not talking about we're treating or we're curing autoimmune disease, but we do know that we have some powerful tools that could be helpful in having people have better quality of life, right? Maybe having less symptomatology, maybe having more, being more active, right? And that's really what it's all about. So, Dave, I'm going to turn it back over to you, my friend.
And I am going to high five you and turn it around and give a high five to Shane Brady, CEO and founder of the company, right here with us now. So, Shane, take it away.
Hey, thanks so much, Dr. Thornton. I love hearing you. Love listening to the way that you share and just explain some of the benefits of our products. There's been some incredible participation as well. There always is. And just a couple of people are asking a little bit more about the recommended dose for the product. And so before we take the reins fully away from you, I'd like to give you a chance to respond to that. I know, you even made mention in your presentation, I believe, that, our product stays in your bloodstream for up to 24 hours, which is a huge benefit. And obviously, the market increase in bioavailability means that you don't have to take as much of the product either, which is one of the risks of other curcumin products, right? Because you could have some side effects, et cetera. But I'd like to give you a chance to respond a little bit based on what you've seen in the use of the product.
Absolutely. Thanks, Shane. Prior to this, we would have to take, I was, literally taking several capsules of curcumin multiple times a day, right? To try to achieve something in the bloodstream, to try to keep it in the bloodstream any length of time required that. Well, you can imagine that compliance, taking handfuls of curcumin capsules multiple times a day, it's not super high, right? Most people aren't willing to do that. And so what's exciting about that is most of my patients are simply doing 10 drops a day, right? Now, in my maybe more significant inflammatory situations, they might do 10 drops twice a day. And I would say that that's a good majority of more chronic, chronically inflamed, maybe we could say, patients. And really the highest I've ever had to use was in a very small handful. I might do 30 drops, which would have looked like something like 15 and 15, twice a day. But what's exciting about that is I've never, even if we've gone at higher levels for a short period of time, we never had to stay at those high levels, right? We might, in order to achieve a quicker response, we might have bumped it up to 10 drops twice a day. But oftentimes I'm able to maintain benefits at 10 drops. And so over time, our goal is to reduce back down again to more of a maintenance dose. And that looks different for different people. But, I never jump right in at high doses because what I found is an awful lot of people respond at lesser doses, right? And if we just think because they have XYZ condition, they're going to need all these doses, that could be a wrong assumption. And I have made wrong assumptions before and started higher than I needed to. So I always start low, right? And then I gradually, if needed, work up. And that's worked tremendously.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dr. Thornton. Really appreciate your words. I love to hear from Dr. Thornton, but I think I love even more just the personal product experiences around the world. People just having an impact in their health. We came back from last month. We were in Australia and New Zealand, and people over there having life-changing experiences with the product. And you think that it's all about us as a company, et cetera. It's really not. There is an ingredient called curcumin that comes from turmeric root that I didn't make. I think somebody else made that one. And however, it is such a blessing to have that in our life and to have the way to make sure that ingredient gets into our cells and does its function in our bodies. And it's just incredible to see the experiences around the world. Thanks so much, Dr. Thornton, for your words of wisdom as well.
Thank you.
Every Tuesday we have the opportunity to hear from the wellness team, and now we've been thinking about how can we have you get a greater access to the wisdom of Dr. Gabet, Dr. Fernandez, Dr. Thornton as they share each week, and so we've decided to come up with an email account, so that now you can write directly to them. And so please take advantage of this opportunity. You can contact them directly through wellnessteam@beautify.co. Send them an email. That will arrive to the wellness team. One of them will respond to you. As you can imagine, each one of them has different responsibilities. They're also, at the same time, Dr. Thornton, for example, has his own clinic and his own practice that he's taking care of patients each day. And so he's got his own responsibility as well. By writing to wellnessteam@beautify.co, you're guaranteed that one of them will respond to you about your question, about the product, etc. And so a wonderful resource for you to find out more information. Maybe not have to wait for that wellness team presentation that comes every Tuesday, but you can reach out and get that information direct from them. We've got a lot going on here. We're coming up on the end of August, and what that means is that we're right around the corner from our bounce call that we do at the beginning of every month. This month, because next Monday, we always do it on the first Monday, but next Monday is Labor Day. And so I believe Dave and Tyler are going to be out on the lake, or I think Dave's going to be sunbathing out there somewhere, catching those last rays of summer. And so he's not going to be available, unfortunately, for the bounce call next Monday. However, we'll be doing it on Tuesday, same time, same channel. So make sure that you connect on and participate in the bounce call on Tuesday, I believe that's September 3rd, that it will be held. Make sure that you set your calendars and that you're available then. Guys, we really appreciate you being on these calls. We try to keep them sweet and short, but concise, with wonderful information from our wellness team. We are grateful and we feel blessed to have Dr. Thornton tonight. And next presentation will be in 2 weeks, and that'll be with Dr. Fernandez. And so make sure to connect on to us with the bounce call, midway calls, where you'll hear all the information about the upcoming events. And look forward to you participating with us next time. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you on the bounce call on Tuesday. Thanks again.